we're gonna get started. They shake hands. Here we go. d4, knight f6, bishop f4. Don't worry, the board will arrive with a 5-second delay. d5, e3, and here we go. We have a London system, ladies and gentlemen. e3 on the board, bishop f5, played by Hans on the right side, and c4, played by Magnus. Alright, they developed the PC. This is old theory, knight c3. Now, knight bd7, I can see on the board. Knight f3, played by Magnus. Small plus for white, nothing crazy. Bishop b4. That's a surprise. I was expecting bishop e7 in this position. Alright, black is pinning the knight on c3. So we need to do something with white. Rook c1 comes to mind. What about queen b3? Let's see. They play a couple of moves. There's going to be a small delay. Castle, castle. So Carlsen doesn't care about bishop b4 takes c3. He wants to play with a bishop pair. Now we're going to advance the game because it's going to take a long while for this game to go over. Now, knight c5, we can see that they exchange a pair of bishop, and queen b2, of course, the queen is attacked on b3. Alright, d takes c4 is not possible because bishop d6 would win an exchange. So rook fd8 plays by black. Carlsen takes on d5. We can see that on the screen. It's going to appear on the board with a 5-second delay. And the knight recapture. Yes, knight f6 recapture from d5. The bishop on f4 is attacked, and Carlsen have seen that. Bishop e5, f6 played, and Magnus is posing. Now the bishop on e5 is attacked. Where do you go with the bishop? I think d4, centralized bishop on d4 makes sense. And that's what Magnus played. Alright, rook ac8. Very standard position here, not much to talk about. h3, waiting move. Knight a4 attack the queen. The queen has to guard the c3 square, so queen a1. Kind of an awkward position for the queen on a1. Knight c5, the knight go back. Hans Niemann is happy with a draw here, right? Because he's leading in the match. So Magnus has to find something. What does he do here? He has a bishop pair, but not much. So he plays queen b1. Knight a4, of course. Hans gonna shuffle knight a4, knight c5 until there's no tomorrow. Queen a1, knight c5. Black is happy to repeat. And we get a new move on the board. And what is it? Ladies and gentlemen, bishop c4. Alright, bishop f7 played by Hans. It's a very quiet game so far. It's gonna get more spicy in a minute. a4 on the board. Knight b4, taking the outpost since the pawn cannot, a3 cannot be played, exchanging the bishops, exchanging the rooks. And now he's thinking, and hence capture with a pawn. That's a mistake we see in a post-game analysis. He should have captured with a rook. So now he captured on c5 with a pawn. Queen c3 played by white. The queen is centralized here, right? From a1 to c3. And if black exchange the bishops, queen c4 check is annoying with the big diagonal. So what to play with black? Here Hans is thinking, this is critical. And what to do, right? And he goes knight a2. Of course, Carlsen will not take the knight on a2 and simply move the queen. Where about though? We can see on the screen on the left, he's moving it to d3, keeping contact with the bishop c4, knight b4 on the board, knight, queen f5. This is getting intense, guys. You're saying that the bishop on c4 is loose, but queen c8 winning the rooks. So Hans has to move the rook on c8 right there. That's what he missed, right? Queen f5 seems to lose a piece on c4, but wins. So the rook should go to c7. Rook c7 is the best move here to protect c5 and defend the rook. Hans is about to take the rook on c8 somewhere. Where about though? Which square? He's thinking. This is a critical moment, guys. Rook d8 on the board. Oh, exchange of rooks, but the c pawn is dropping. Is there any trick? No trick. And now white is open up, and the knight on b4 is attacked as well. What to do, guys, right? Hans is feeling the heat right there, right now. He played a5 to secure his knight on b4. Knight d4 centralize the knight. They exchange a pair of bishops. Check. King h7. Oh, queen f7. This is threatening knight d6 and f5. Oh, queen d5 on the board. Queen g8 played by Hans. We're going to see in the post-game analysis, he put his queen on d5 for a minute. No exchange of queens, says Carlsen. I'm going to play queen d7. Queen e7, rather. Queen is attacked. Oh my god, they're rushing the moves here. Queen b8, I can see on the board. Oh, but the knight drops. Crazy, we'll have to review the analysis, and Magnus wins the game. Vishy, hi. Welcome back, chess fans. Let's review this game one last time. I was there live. Vishy Anand was there on site in New York for this epic match, Carlsen-Niemann. This was game 3, a London system. We've seen that. Bishop f5 played. They go like that. Bishop b4. I was expecting bishop e7, but that's playable. They exchange the bishops, so we can see that white has a bishop pair. However, the position is fairly equal. I went on like that, and around here we look at the game. So here black could not take because bishop d6, as I mentioned during the live broadcast, you would win an exchange with a rook on f8 dropping. Rook f d8, this is all fine. The queen goes back. And now what, right? If you play queen b1 once again, knight a4, and remember that Niemann won the second game, so he's winning the match by 1 point, 0.5, 1.5. It's a match in 4 games, so Carlsen has to win. And he goes with bishop c4, trying to play with the bishop pair. Over here, black had to play a5, but knight b4 is played, and Carlsen decided to take on c5. Now they exchange a pair of rook, and that was a critical moment in the game. Black had to simply capture with the rook, and if you exchange here, you have to do king f7, because if you do queen f7, then the rook comes here, and then you give some checks, and guess what? You're attacking here, attacking there. That's looking good for white. But king f7 here, and if you do knight d4, queen e5, this is all fine for Niemann. So he captured like that. Queen c3, the queen on c3 becomes more in the center. So now Niemann went with a long think here, and he had to take on c4. And then if you do exchange like that, then you have queen f7, that's playable. Or he could have played king h7. Instead, he went for this hasty knight a2. Now, of course, you don't want to take, because then that would be good for black. But instead, Carlsen was surprised with the move, queen d3. The knight comes back, and this is a surprise, queen f5. That move was a surprise because if you drop the bishop, queen c8, and you win. So over here, the rook c8 is attacked. Rook c7 was a clever move. On take, you have to be careful. You cannot take with the queen because once again, you get rook d8. But you can take with the king. And if you're trying to attack like that, the king goes back. And here, you defend absolutely everything with black. So queen f5, very dangerous. Rook d8. And now, take, queen c5. White is up and up. The game continues. And here, Carlsen very quickly played the super strong queen f7. What does he have in mind? Knight f5 threaten here, or knight e6 threaten queen g7 checkmate. Here we can see that Niemann is thinking of queen d5. He actually moved the queen here but holds on the queen, and at the last second play queen g8. Why did he reject queen d5? Well, knight e6. Now you're threatening queen g7. You can give a check, but I come here, and how do you defend again queen g7 checkmate? You can't. So seeing that at the last second, queen g8 defends g7. Does Magnus go into the endgame? Not this time. Queen e7. Knight d5 attack the queen. Queen c5 attack the knight, but also attack the pawn. Queen d8, and now knight e6. You can see that the momentum has switched completely in white's favor. And here, queen b8, and Carlsen is looking at Niemann and says, what are you doing, buddy? Queen d5, they're not buddies actually, but queen d5 is a piece up. And he ends up tying the match 1.5, and in the last game, Magnus wins to clinch the match. He ends up playing the final against Nepo, and they share the World Blitz title, which was another controversy. Now, before we end this video, what if queen d7 that guards the knight? The knight f8, a fork, and we win the queen. But Niemann, should I play queen a8? And here, the computer recommends e4, and on 9b4, queen c7, threatens checkmate, and on that, you win a second pawn and the game, right? So, even on queen e8, a4, and you can see that basically the queen and knight dominates the queen and knight over here, and this is a weak pawn as well. So once again, this is crushing for white, attacking here, attacking there. So with that, Magnus wins this game, the London system in a clutch, needed win with the white pieces, and I see you in the next one.